I've watched just about every Jehovah's Witness production that has come out over the last several years, and despite what you might see from thumbnails and titles, whoa, this is shocking, wow, this is a big change. Let's be honest, that's mostly just YouTube algorithm playing the game, essentially. And never truly am I absolutely blown away and shocked. I would say it's like maybe 4, 5, maybe 6 times per year that something is like really like, whoa, wow, that's kind of crazy. But I can honestly say this was like a shock jaw drop moment hearing this talk for the first time. My face was doing the YouTube thumbnail. We'll just do the YouTube thumbnail. This is what my face was doing. So let's talk about it.
Now, what is God's word? We've said that it's the expression of his purpose. And that means that when Jehovah says he's going to do something, it's as good as done. And nothing and no one can stand in the way. But sometimes, with the best of intentions, we could actually get in the way of a decision or a project that Jehovah approves of.
This whole idea of individuals getting in the way of a project that Jehovah approves of is ridiculous, because Watchtower is the biggest culprit of doing this. They have committed the foul that they're decrying right now. If you were a Jehovah's Witness back in 2010, the early 2010s, you'll remember a situation where a lot of people, congregations that I attended, had been saving money for a remodel for a long time. Our Kingdom Hall was paid off, and we were in desperate need. Our chairs were old, carpet was old, paint was old. Everything needed some lipstick and a facelift. And the congregation had been putting money aside for like 8-9 years in order to accomplish this. New sound system, new everything. Really going to finally get that remodel that we've all been saving for a long time. Well, then the branch sent this letter out saying that, all the money that you have that you've been saving for construction projects or remodel, we're actually going to make that an internal process. So the branch is now going to be in charge of which Kingdom Halls get a remodel. Now, this is a big deal because previously you thought, well, our congregations, the ones using the building, the ones who paid for the building, the ones who maintain the building, some might consider them the owners of the property, they had been planning a remodel. Now the branch comes and tells you, you actually don't own this thing that you paid for, built, and have maintained. We own it, and we have to approve whether or not you can do any major renovations. And because of that, you don't need your savings account. So please send us all the money in that account, all $400,000 that you have saved up. And, you can keep $5,000 for any little projects that might come up or pop up. I might be getting some of these numbers wrong, but this is the general gist of it. And this happened all over the world. All over the world, there were groups of elders, spiritual men. This will come into play later on in the video. There were groups of men that had all gotten together, and they said, okay, this is what we need. This is going to be better for community. It's going to be, make our building look better, more appealing, more modern, not so run down. We want to represent Jehovah in the best way possible. And all of these spiritual men came together and made a decision about saving this money. Watchtower said, nope. Now, you know what happened after they took that money and made a empty promise of, oh, well, once we get around to it, we'll handle the ones that have more need than others? Do you think our congregation got the remodel? Last time I checked, I don't think even 10 years later, they've gotten a remodel. Still same old smelly building. It is crazy how he is saying, hey, we, talking about you, because he is not the we. He's saying to ordinary Jehovah's Witnesses, hey, you might get in the way of a project that Jehovah has approved of, when Watchtower is the biggest offender for getting in the way of projects that Jehovah approved of. Now, why can we say Jehovah approved of those? Well, he's going to be hoisted by his own petard by the end of this talk. But anyway, we'll get to that when we get there.
Now, we have an example of this in an event that happened in the lives of Esau and Jacob. Now, who was getting in the way in that story? The faithful man, Isaac. After 20 years of marriage, Isaac and Rebekah finally had two sons, Esau and Jacob. And we know that Esau was the firstborn. And as the Watchtower pointed out this week, in patriarchal times, at the death of the father, why the firstborn took the lead in the family. He was the one who conducted family worship. But Jehovah had told Rebekah that Jacob was going to have the firstborn's position. We don't know if he told Isaac, but he did tell Rebekah that Jacob was going to have the firstborn's position. So the word had gone out. The expression of God's purpose had gone out. Jacob would take precedence over Esau. Could anyone challenge that?
Now we did a little sped up version, abridged version of his build up to those main points that he's going to be making, and the biblical example of Jacob and Esau and Isaac and Rebekah. Now notice what he says that absolutely blew me away about current Jehovah's Witnesses and how they favor or love one of their children more.
Well, Rebekah loved the one Jehovah loved most, Jacob. Isaac loved Esau, even after Esau had married out of the truth twice. Well, some in full-time service have a brother or sister who isn't doing very well in the truth, and yet he or she is the favorite. Go figure. Even parents in the truth don't always love the one Jehovah loves most.
This is a shockingly insensitive and unchristlike thing to say from a religious leader. Gone are Jesus' words that he makes it rain and shine on the righteous and the unrighteous. He provides food for the righteous and the unrighteous. He helps and he is there to support the broken and the downhearted. No, Jehovah has levels of his love. And he loves people more depending on how much work they do for the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania. That is what he just said. God will love you more if you do more for the organization that I control. This is wildly dumb to say. Now, I just had a gut feeling that if I went over to my new favorite hobby, it's called JW Talk, and it's basically Reddit for active Jehovah's Witnesses. I was so curious to see if anyone had anything to say about it. And sure enough, they did, and they expressed themselves very well. This quote just silenced me. I can't get my head around it. As if Jehovah loves full-time servants more than someone who isn't doing very well in the truth. Doing very well in the truth from Jehovah's point of view has little to do with being a full-time servant. I think there might be more friends doing good in the truth and not being a full-time servant. I had a time I didn't do very well in the truth, and it was Jehovah's huge love that he showed in this period that helped me the most. I'm not sure about this statement, especially because it is about parental love. The rest of this broadcast I really did enjoy. And then someone gave them some scriptures to try and adjust their thinking for saying anything outside of the normal narrative that people accept. And his reply to those couple of scriptures says, what the Bible says about Esau is clear, but I don't see a need nor a biblical basis to extrapolate his warning example to brothers and sisters who are not doing well in the truth.
Have a brother or sister who isn't doing very well in the truth, and yet he or she is the favorite. Go figure. Even parents in the truth don't always love the one Jehovah loves most.
Now that's why this is a very silly thing for him to have said. There are going to be people listening to this that are not doing so well. And part of the program, the process, if you aren't doing so well spiritually, is to consume more spiritual information like this in order to get a pick-me-up and feel better. And that will motivate you to do better. But now if someone is in that process and they're listening to this, David Splain is telling them, hey, I just wanted to remind you that Jehovah doesn't love you as much as he loves someone else that, is actually doing well, that is working hard for the Watchtower organization. Not like you lazy. Not a very good thing to be reminded of, especially if someone is struggling with their spirituality. And the idea that he's talking about it from the parental perspective. Man, there's some people in the truth that even do this with their own children. I think that this is the dangers of the echo chamber. This guy lives at Bethel. He breathes the Bethel air. He doesn't get outside opinions like that. And all of his information and feedback that he's getting about the struggles that ordinary Jehovah's Witnesses are dealing with are coming from other Bethelites. Now, these are people that are working full-time in Jehovah's service. Don't you think some of the complaints and discussions that he has when he asks people about their family, that someone's going to be bitching and moaning about, oh, well, they just love my sister so much more than me because they don't send me this, or they don't do this, or they just always cater to her, but I'm loyally serving Jehovah. If you've ever been to Bethel, you know that that's what people talk about. Sorry, but yeah, that's just the reality of the situation. There's a lot of people that whine about their sibling that didn't go to Bethel getting preferential treatment, even though that's probably not the case. But that's the echo chamber that he lives in. That is what he sees this. He sees this as a major problem for Jehovah's Witnesses. And so he's pandering to that. He's pandering to this direct audience of Bethel people in front of him. And somehow he forgot that this might go out to the entire world. Now that the entire world, because the Bethelites, they don't make up a large percentage of Jehovah's Witnesses. When a large percentage of Jehovah's Witnesses read this, they're going to be like this person. Hey, I really like the broadcast and everything, but I don't see a scriptural basis to extrapolate what this guy is saying. What is he talking about? It doesn't make any sense. So I think it was really a fascinating little moment from multiple different perspectives about him saying that. But with that, let's continue.
No matter what your limitations are, don't give up on life. Find out what you can do, and then do what you can. The dead can't praise Jehovah, but you can, as long as you're alive. And even if you get to the point where all you can do is keep your integrity and praise Jehovah, do that. Don't give up. But now let's get back to the point we started with, and that is, with the best of intentions, we could get in the way of Jehovah's purpose.
They really just want cradle to grave service. Like, hey, parents out there, when the governing body starts saying, we need your children, you better be ready to comply and let them go at the last annual meeting. And now it's, hey, even if you can't even move, you can still keep your integrity. Even if you can't do what you once did, you can still do something. This is just the miserable lives of Jehovah's Witnesses. They're constantly being pressured. No matter, if they are 5 years old, you have to be answering at the meeting. You have to be helping clean the Kingdom Hall. And when you're 95 years old, you have to be answering a meeting, and you have to be helping clean the Kingdom Hall. It is so sad how they just cannot stop squeezing a little bit of something out of their people.
Yes, he loved Esau more than Jacob. And yes, he wanted Esau to have the blessing. But when Jehovah's will became clear, Isaac submitted. Would it be possible for us to get in the way when Jehovah decides to do something? Or when he approves a project that maybe we don't agree with? It could happen.
The biblical narrative is out of the way, and we got that little story in place so he can make the things he's about to say seem as if they're inspired from the Bible or have any relevance to the Bible. But we're going to watch him essentially spit in the face of every single Jehovah's Witness that's ever put faith in the organization for decades. So all of the ones that have been loyally supporting for 50, 60 years, he's just going to laugh at them, laugh in their face. And I just am so blown away that this ever made it to the JW Broadcasting. I don't know why they posted this online. It doesn't make any sense.
The organization suggests a new way to carry out the preaching work. We tell our service group, that'll never work here. Maybe it'll work somewhere else, but not here. We're different. What about our building projects? Ramapo? Why do we need Ramapo? Armageddon's coming. In the late 40s, when the decision was made to expand world headquarters at 124 Columbia Heights, a few of the brothers took a dim view. Why spend the time and the money so close to the end? Then in 1953, at the business meeting of the Watchtower Society, Brother Noah read a letter from a sister. Now, just for context, this is 1953, and in those days, as I well recall, some thought that Armageddon was going to come 40 years from 1914. We were doing a lot of counting back then. So this sister writes to Brother Noah and says, why are you spending all this money on building projects when Armageddon could come in 1954? Well, if we'd listened to her and others like her, where would we be today? Still back at 124 Columbia Heights.
So this is coming from someone who has been in the organization for a long time. He admits it.
And in those days, as I well recall,
in this statement, he's like, well, I would know. I've been around for a long time. I would know. We did a lot of counting back then. He knows that it wasn't just random people speculating by doing that counting stuff. He knows that was informed, and those flames were having kerosene thrown on them by the organization. People were counting because Watchtower was counting. People were speculating because Watchtower was speculating. People were waiting and thinking the end was right around the corner and it would happen within their lifetime or within a certain generation because Watchtower told them that. They trusted. He trusted the organization, the leaders, with their lives, with their livelihood, with their future, with their children's future. Millions of people trusted them. And now he turns around, looks them in the face, and says, imagine if we would have listened to that sister that said, why should we be planning for the future when the end is so close? Watchtower for decades has been telling their followers, why would you plan for the future when the end is so close? That's a very logical argument to make. That is what they are telling them. They are in every Watchtower. They are always telling them, future, best future you need. What, are you married? The only man you need in your life is Jesus. Are you single? The only man you need in your life is Jesus Christ. You can get married in the new system. Boom. 80 years later, still waiting to get married by Jesus. It's insanity that he is so smug after having witnessed all of this happen in his lifetime, being in a position where he has observed all of the millions of people wasting their lives away, trusting that the organization was right, while simultaneously making sure that the organization and their assets were very well handled and cared for, even more so recently. And he's like, yeah, imagine if we would have listened to them. Yeah, I can imagine what would happen if we would listen to that sister, because that's my life. Because I listened to you. I'm still in the 124 building. My life has been stuck on perpetual hold because of you. and the leaders of this organization. And he has the audacity to make a joke about it. Imagine if we would have listened to her. This is truly a shocking moment in JW broadcasting history. I am so, it's hard to even put into words how blown away I am that he has said the things he has in this broadcast, and they've chosen to upload it for the entire world to see.
Speaking about our building programs, Brother Noor once made a very profound statement. It's simple, but it's profound. He said, we're going to keep building. Let Jehovah stop it if he doesn't agree with it. I think he could do that, couldn't he? Now, sometimes a body of elders has a lively discussion about some project or initiative. Maybe it's the need for a new kingdom hall. And we may have our concerns. We may have reservations. We express those. But if a number of Spirit-directed men are enthusiastically in favor of a project, it's very possible that Jehovah agrees with it too. So we wouldn't want to get in the way.
Mother sucker, you little worm, you absolute bitch. If a group of men decides that, hey, they're enthusiastically pursuing a project, like what happened when people were saving money to remodel their kingdom halls, it's likely that it has Jehovah's approval. And we wouldn't want to get in the way. You got to make sure you wouldn't want to get in the way. Watchtower not only got in the way, they stole their money. They stole their money, making them incapable of moving ahead with their project. And if a body of elders decided that they were going to protest, no, we built this kingdom hall. It's our land. It's our hall, and we're going to keep our money and do what we want with it. They would just send a circuit overseer, change the body of elders, find a corporate man they would just basically get rid of them, put in a new body of elders that would comply with the branch directive, and bada bing, bada boom, unless it was like a really long, drawn-out legal battle, that'd be the end of it. You have no say in the matter. It is crazy. He knows this. He witnessed this. He orchestrated this land grab, this global land grab, stealing money from honest, hard-working window cleaners and plumbers and carpet cleaners that are so proud of their kingdom hall that they built and they maintain. And finally, after saving for years, they were going to get a remodel. You little worm, you took their money and you laughed in their face. Hell, you might have even sold their building and told them to go and drive for 45 minutes as well. And now he's coming up here and saying, hey, if people are enthusiastic, that might be, fudge off. Honestly, David, fudge off. You suck. You can lick the dirtiest part of my butthole. You are the worst for having the coconuts to look Jehovah's Witnesses in the eye and to tell them this, to even suggest that this is a way that they might be getting in the way of Jehovah's Spirit operating on Spirit-appointed men. When you are the largest criminal, it is incredible.
And we wouldn't want to be a naysayer. Sometimes what happens when we're in a building project, we have a trouble with permitting. We can't get the permits we need right away. Or maybe a building inspector comes and he causes a lot of trouble. And we wouldn't want to be the type of person who says, well, this project mustn't have Jehovah's blessing, because if it had Jehovah's blessing, everything would go smoothly. Tell that to Nehemiah and the Jews in his day. They had no end of trouble. And yet, what they were doing had Jehovah's approval.
So now that he and the other members of the governing body want to spend hundreds of millions of dollars building a new movie studio, and maybe he's hearing whispers of criticism about the ridiculous nature of building a $100-200 million movie studio when you already have good equipment and a good setup for producing high quality videos. Now he just wants to tell people, don't be negative, don't be a naysayer. Dude, why are you complaining? It's ridiculous that you would do such thing. So David Splain, I guess the only thing I have to say to you in this talk is, instead of the normal outro, David Splain, I hope you stub your toe. I hope you burn the roof of your mouth on hot pizza. And I hope you get a coffee stain on your tie. Everyone else, have a good ass day.